Welcome back. So today we're going to be doing round 2 of our new player guide. So we already basically went over all of the UI and everything in the hangar. So now we're going to go over one quick thing and then we're going to go into battle. So, number 1, make sure you go to your research tab and look to see whatever it is that you want to research. You're probably going to be starting in Tier 1, and if it were me, I'd recommend that you start with your assaulters and unlocking the assaulters and some of the better submachine guns like the Beretta M38. But you could also get your sniper squad unlocked. They come pretty early. Or you could get your AT squad unlocked. Regardless, make sure that you have what you're most interested in rank 1 being researched. Then we can go down here, make sure that we're on squads and that our server selected, and we can hit the start button. And now we're in queue. We're going to be running BR5 Germany today. It's just what I feel like running. This could be BR1, it could be Germany, Russia, America. Doesn't matter. Pick whichever one your favorite nation is. So we're going to fight in Berlin on Wilhelmstrasse. This first objective here is usually a nightmare to take, but if you can hold it, you'll be in a very good spot. So, the first thing you're going to be greeted with is this screen here, where you get to pick your squad. You'll see all of your squads listed here. If you're a free-to-play player, it's usually only going to be these first 4 slots, so you can click on whichever one you want, and you can even click on which soldier you want to spawn as. So we're going to spawn our half-track first. The half-track's an APC class, and it's going to give us the ability to spawn our teammates. And we're going to live a little bit dangerously today and leave it in the middle of the street. Now, one of the things you might have just seen me do, I swapped soldiers. You're going to have to assign a button for it, but you can assign that button and you'll be able to switch soldiers anytime you want. And you'll even be able to bring up a menu and you can cycle through to whichever soldier you want. The other important thing is to know what your medpack button is, because if you get hit like that, you can use a medkit to top up your health. And likewise, sometimes when you get shot, you'll go down, and you'll be able to use a medkit to get back up. But most of those times, it's more worthwhile to switch soldiers. So here we're spawning into a plane. So most maps for most nations, planes are going to spawn in the air. But that's not true in the Pacific. In the Pacific, most of the planes will spawn on carriers, and you'll have to take off. If you have to take off, I recommend making sure you know what your flap button is, since a lot of the earlier planes don't quite have the engine power to get off the deck on their own. Look at that, we got one of the tanks that we tried to bomb down there. Although I think we're about to get intercepted. I can hear another plane flying by. try to get the other tank in our next pass. This is the JU-188. It's a higher tier German bomber. It's pretty big, but I like it. It's got a good bomb load. But we hit a building. Did we at least get him? We did. We got the T-34-85. So that was a pretty good pass. We got both of their tanks. So what you saw there are multiple spawn points. We spawned on a friendly spawn beacon. They'll show up as like a little box with a flag on it on the map. And they offer you a lot of versatility and flexibility. They basically give you the ability to pop up in areas that are closer to the objective or out on the flank, all manner of different places. And likewise, right now we're building our own. So the more of these that we have, the better off our team's going to be, because they'll have more locations that are closer that they can spawn in. Because these spawn points, they actually have a 5-second cooldown before somebody else can spawn on them. And if the guy who's first in line to spawn on it is still on his cooldown from dying, I think it's like a 6 or 7 second cooldown before you can spawn, then he's going to be holding up the line. But if you've got multiple spawn points down, then you can pick any of the spawn points and spawn on it, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. There's a lot of Russians out there. We might be in a little bit of danger here. We've got your mortars, we've got your rifle grenades, we got the whole 9 yards. Yeah, this objective looks like it's not going to last a whole lot longer, which is a real shame. Once you get through this one as the attackers here, this map opens up and becomes a lot easier. But who knows? I mean, we're holding out alright, so we might be able to hold out on some of the later objectives. That remains to be seen, though. So as you can see, all of these little boxes with flags, these are our spawn beacons. The circles with flags are our primary spawn points. Now the other thing I should add here is that this is the core game mode that most of the time you're going to run into in Enlisted. It's basically a 5-zone capture game mode where you need to secure one zone after the next sequentially. And the attackers have tickets, and they can get tickets back each time they capture a zone. They start with about 1,000 tickets, and the goal is basically for them to run us out of the map. You know, it's a territory control game mode. So it is going to be fairly detrimental to us if they take this objective, because they're probably going to go back up close to 1,000 tickets. And the next few objectives, it is all urban fighting, so in theory they should be similarly difficult to take to this map, or to this objective. But in my experience, usually when this objective falls, the other team tends to take the next 2 to 3 objectives rather quickly. So we're sitting right on the edge of the gray zone right now, so it's a good opportunity for us to talk about another mechanic. It's basically the out of bounds zone. Now you can see that the enemy are in this zone. It's kind of like a safety net for them. You do have a little bit of time to run around in there, but you won't be able to stay there forever. And once you're there for a little bit, it'll tell you to get back to the battlefield, and eventually you'll start taking damage, and you'll start dying on whatever soldier's out there. But sometimes the enemy will build spawn beacons out there, or they'll build tanks, or not build, but they'll spawn tanks and keep them out there. It can be difficult to deal with at times. Your best bet in those cases is to use a plane, but a spawn beacon in a building is not very vulnerable to getting hit by planes. So sometimes you're just going to have to deal with it. Sometimes your best play is going to be just to run out there and understand that your squad is going to get destroyed doing so. And sometimes it's better to just leave them out there. Like a lot of the spawn beacons that are in the gray zone on a lot of maps, they're going to be so far away that it's not really giving them a whole lot of benefit. But that's not true in all cases. I thought I'd have him with the first guy. Turns out I'm just sucking today, I guess. Now there's an enemy spawn beacon in this house. You can hear the Morse code. That's how you know that they're in here. They also have landmines in there. Go figure. I thought they might, but unless I got too close to one of them. Landmines can be an exceptionally good way of protecting your own spawn points, and they can be a very good way of dealing with enemy spawn points. They act as area denial weapons, especially if you put down more than one of them, but in addition to that, they also act as early warning to your own spawn beacons. Like if you put mines down around your spawn beacon and all of a sudden they start exploding, well then you have a pretty good idea that the enemy is getting close to it. I'm not sure if I placed that close enough. Try dropping one from up here, because they do have their own mines down there. I just don't really want to trip them if I don't have to, because they'll probably take out the spawn point, and to be entirely honest, I would much rather deny the enemy a squad than just blow it up. Oh. Yeah, this place is absolutely full of these. Oh, that's an AT mine. That's not really what we're looking for. Oh, well. I can't believe that actually just went off. You must have tripped one of the AP mines and it triggered the AT mine. Sometimes I forget what I've given to each soldier, and I'm usually just trying to pull out the mine and use it quickly. So I usually just pull it out and click. Still, we shouldn't have Russians coming out of that particular house, at least for a little while. So now we have the Russians down to about half their tickets. This is actually looking pretty good for us since they're only on the second objective, but we can't relax. As the Inquisition always says, a moment of laxity can lead to a lifetime of heresy. But no, really. The enemy could easily take this point, go back up to 600 or 700 tickets, and then push through the next 2 or 3 points. If we manage to hold this point down to, say, 300 tickets, I'll be pretty happy. And then if we hold the next one sub 200, then they probably can't win. But this is going pretty well for us, and there's a good chance that they're not going to take this point at all from us. But all it takes is them wiping all the squads that are on the point, and putting one or two squads of their own on the point, and it will fall very, very quickly. The capture times in Enlisted can be very quick, so it's one of the reasons why having spawn points is particularly relevant. I mean, you'll find that there are lots of spawn points right now because there's an event going on that requires people to build spawn points, but that's not always going to be the case. I'm curious to see how many people continue building spawn points when this event's over, since it's been running for close to a month now. And since it's required people to get 50 spawns on their spawn points every 2 days, I'm curious if it's conditioned people to start building more spawn points. I guess time will tell. They have a T-34 on the street over there. Let's go see if we can take it out. As long as we don't get flanked by a bunch of infantry this time, we might actually be able to kill them. You know, I take that back. We might just get blown up by him. I think we got kind of lucky there. Looks like we got his driver. There we go. Popped him. Offenroar coming in strong. I don't have the Offenroar on a lot of my squads, maybe half of them. I tend to favor the Panzerfaust 100 just because it's got more pen, but it is a little bit harder to aim. The Offenroar slows you down a little bit to use it. As you can see, I can't run with it, I can't sprint. But its sights are a little bit better and the velocity of the projectile is a little bit better. And it does have very good post-pen damage. If you've ever played War Thunder before, the damage in this game is going to be similar to War Thunder, but it's still going to be different. It's not quite the same. It's like a simplified version. We did get pushed back there, but I want to take out this tank before we fall back. There we go. Guess we want to take that one out too. Managed to light them on fire. Hopefully that'll... There we go. Take it out. So something to note is that the tank corpses stay, so we actually have a bit of a roadblock forming here, just from all of the armor that we've managed to take out. And we've got Russians running around with bolt-action rifles. This is what I was talking about the other day. You gotta be real careful bringing lower BR squads up into BR5. So, like, right when you unlock BR3, for example, I would hold off on actually playing at BR3 so you don't get into a situation like those guys did where you're running around with your Mosin Dragoons or your Mosin 38 carbines, and you run into some top-tier German like me who's running around with a Sturmgewehr. It is definitely playable. I have played up like that before, but you're definitely going to be at a disadvantage, and you're probably not going to have the best experience. So if you do want to play BR3, then I would suggest you wait at least until you've got SVT 38s on most everybody. It doesn't need to literally be on everybody. You can have the Winchester repeater or the M38 on some of your longer ranged guys, but I would I would be careful if I were you. I'm gonna have to drop in and deal with that. That building is absolutely covered in AP mines, and we were getting hit by a squad at the same time. I probably should have just dealt with the squad, but they had AP mines outside in the ground, and I didn't want to run into them when I was trying to fight the other guy. I thought I could do both, but oh well. So, what you're seeing me use here are paratroopers. Yeah, I used them a little bit earlier. The thing is, if you're brand new, you're probably not going to get access to them right away, but they do release them in events fairly frequently. The only thing is there's no tech tree availability for them yet. Maybe in the future. We did get tech tree APCs with the trucks, so it's possible. So we have them at 143 tickets on the third objective. We're holding pretty strong, but as you saw with the previous objective, it could suddenly disappear at any moment. I probably should actually fight on the point. That is probably the best place to be, but I prefer to harass the enemy and take out their spawn points and disable their vehicles. It really just depends on what the team needs. If, for example, they had just blown through the first and second point and our teammates didn't put up a fight at all, then I would be sitting on the point, because you kind of have to be the change you want to see in the game. In this game, you have to react. So if your teammates decide that they're not going to defend the objective, well, then you have to do it. But since the teammates seem like they're defending the objective, I can go out and I can seek out and destroy enemy spawn beacons. I can take out enemy mines. I can harass the enemy tanks. And I can just be a general nuisance to the enemy and make even getting to the point harder. But you kind of just have to read the match and see what you can do in a given match. And to be fair, this play style is more geared towards paratroopers than it is towards like your standard rifleman. Your standard rifleman will probably be better suited to staying back and fighting around the point, but it kind of just depends. Enlisted's a very flexible game where you have a lot of different types of soldiers and squads and playstyles available to you, and a lot of them can be really fun. You kind of just have to pick whichever ones you prefer and you perform the best in. Depends on, I guess, why you're playing the game, if you're competitive or if you just want to have fun. And then adapt them to the situations that are emerging in the game. But they have 0 tickets. At 0 tickets, they'll get a countdown from 60 seconds. If they have majority control of the objective, so 51% control of the objective, then they won't have that countdown. So you can still try to come back from these sorts of situations, but generally speaking, if you get to the point where you have that countdown pop up, the game's basically over. You should still stay in the game, though, because leaving reduces the rewards that you get. But here you can see that we won, and here is our victory screen. So you're going to see the top players will be highlighted up here. You'll see all of your awards for the battle. You can see a breakdown of the XP that you got on each squad, each soldier. You can even mouse over each soldier and it'll give you specific stats to them, so it'll tell you how much time you were in battle on each of the soldiers, how many kills you had, spawns, It's a really interesting breakdown that you can see on each of them. And then down here, you'll actually get the scoreboard. So you'll be able to see what position you're in. You can mouse over people and see what kind of medals they got. You've got your kills, your vehicles destroyed, your assists, your engineer score, your zone defense and attack, your captures, your squads lost, and your total score. Now, the only caveat here is that your kills are tracked by individual enemy soldier killed, but your deaths are tracked by squad wipes. So if you have a 9-man squad and you run into another 9-man squad, and let's say you kill that 9-man squad, you're going to have 9 kills, but if somebody else comes along and kills you, you're going to have 1 death. Vehicles are counted as, 1 vehicle destroyed. You also get the kill count for the people inside the tank that you killed if you kill any of them. And everything else is more or less self-explanatory. You'll also be able, in the post-battle screen, to see the ranks of everybody here. But remember, like I said, the rank is mostly a depiction of how much you've played that particular season. It's not inherently indicative of skill, just of experience, which generally people with more experience will perform better because they know more. Just don't be intimidated if you see marshals, because not every marshal is incredibly, good at the game. Some of them are very casual, some of them don't take it too seriously, some of them are super sweaty, and some of them are bad, but pretty much anybody can make marshal if you just play the game enough. So down here, it'll either give you a button to go back to the hangar or to complete research. I don't have anything left to research in this tree, so when I hit that it brings me to the tech tree because it wants me to pick something else to research. There's just nothing else for me to research. But going off of that, up here you'll see this star with kind of a circle around it, and this is going to be your spillover XP. So let's say I was last researching the G55. When I finish researching that, any additional XP goes into my spillover XP. And then if there was another thing that I wanted to research, so for example, the 74A1, I can accelerate the research there. But that has effectively been how we get into battle, and some basic tips in how you spawn, run around, what to focus on, so on and so forth in battle. Don't forget to claim any rewards that you get, and if you were to finish all of these in an event, like I finished the last one here because I skipped out on one of the tasks the other day, make sure that you actually claim your rewards up here. Hopefully you enjoy your time in Enlisted. It can be a fantastic game. Get out there, kick ass, take names, and win your games.